Listen to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, joined by Jason Shear. Hello, Shear. How you doing, dude?
Splendid. How are you, Michael?
All right, that's what I like to hear. That's what we all like to hear. All right, we're going to talk about a lot of Arizona defensive coordinator situations. Shear and I are going to disagree on some stuff. We're going to talk Jacob Kongaika. We're going to talk some Arizona basketball. But first, Johnny Nansen has moved on to the University of Texas. It's an odd situation because it's essentially kind of it's a little bit of a job demotion in that he's not going to be calling plays. He did a really nice job this last year here at the U of A. Shear, what were your initial thoughts?
I mean, yeah, look, I know he's probably going to make more money and it's Texas, but it's a demotion. I mean, he's not calling plays. I think that was the biggest surprise of the whole thing, is that basically he was willing to give up play calling and try to advance his career in that manner versus Arizona, where he's probably 1 year away from being a head coaching candidate somewhere.
All right. Now, I am of the belief, all the people here that are super upset about this, again, this isn't saying something after the person's out the door. That's generally what Shear does when he kicks them when they leave the room. But Duane Akina, to me, is the easy hire. Duane Akina, listen, you watch 1 year with Johnny Nansen, and year one, this was one of the worst defenses in college football. Now, granted, his first year in the system, Duane Akina comes in, and this is not just some analyst. He was incredibly active in practice and games, going up and down the field. Duane Akina, to me, is an easy choice. You hire him as the defensive coordinator. You bring in a co-DC, a recruiter, and, he'll be the defensive coordinator, emeritus and waiting, blah, blah, blah. This is the easy one. You got a genius on the staff. It's go for broke time. Duane Akina, buddy.
Yeah, I don't. Do you remember? I'm trying to think. Do you remember why Duane Akina was demoted at Texas? Was there like a reason behind that?
That I don't know.
And that was like the only time he called plays. He never called plays at Stanford. That's the one thing that I find weird, is that I like Akina. I don't disagree with you, but he's called plays for what, like 2 years?
He called plays at Arizona.
Yeah, but that was in 1990s. What was that? You know what I mean? No, I think it depends. Look, I like Akina, and I have no issue with him calling plays, but I think even you would agree that if they go that route, they need to bring in a young, aggressive recruiter.
Yeah, no, I'm totally cool with that. Cool with that. But like I said, that to me, and let's talk about Akina here for a second, because he was really, you noticed Duane Akina at practice. You noticed Duane Akina with the way that he interacted with the players, the way that he interacted with the coaching staff. And let's be honest, the defense looked fragmented in that first year under Johnny Nansen. It never felt like the defensive backs and the linebackers and the down linemen were all on the same page. This past year, it felt like they were all on the same page.
It's funny because now that he's gone, I could tell this story. We went to practice one day, me and a couple other reporters, and Johnny was there, and we asked Johnny, we straight up said, why is the defense so much better? And he goes, well, it's the players. He goes, we just have better players. And it's like, not like and a lot of that in college football, that's the key. Like, you have better players. And they brought in Akina, and he helped a lot, obviously. There's been rumors the last season that Akina has had a major hand in helping Johnny. And look, like, I don't think Johnny all of a sudden became some super defensive coordinator in a year. Like, this is still the same guy that everyone wanted fired after his first year, whatever. He got better players. And as long as you surround whoever, even if it's Akina, if you surround him with good players, he's generally going to do well. If you hire a new guy, they're generally going to do well. I think for the continuity of it, I think there's a lot of value in that, and that's where Akina comes in as well.
Yeah, and with Akina, the other thing I think you need to look at is that they stopped the DBs. Look at the DBs for a second. Akina, if you look at Akina's resume, he's probably as good a defensive backs coach as there is in college football history. I mean, you've coached 3 Thorpe Award winners, something like 19 first-round picks, all of that stuff. I mean, he knows what he's doing. But you know what you also noticed about the defense? When Nansen's first year, the ASU game felt like it was every single game where it was Marcel Yates 2.0, where we're giving up 15 yards. Just only give them 15 yards, and then hopefully we can force a turnover or something. That all stopped once Akina took over, or Akina, came in.
I looked it up, by the way, and this isn't a shot at Akina. I was just wondering. So he was fired in 2007. Their defense was awful. You're gonna laugh. His co-defensive coordinator, who also resigned, was Larry McDuff.
Yeah, Arizona, baby.
And so, but to be fair to Duane Akina, his replacement was Will Muschamp. So,
yeah, all right. Well, either way, I don't. But all I'm saying is this: you hire Duane Akina. Next year is a go for broke year for Arizona. Everybody says, well, what about the, what about next year and all, or what about a continuity and this and that. All I care about is next year. And because if you get 2 straight 10-win seasons or 2 straight back-to-back really, really good seasons, which Arizona has never had in the past, then it becomes, if Jedd Fisch were to leave, definitely don't want that to happen, but if Jedd Fisch were to leave, then it becomes, I think, a little bit easier to look at and say, all right, well, you just had 2 straight 10-win seasons here. It can be done at the U of A.
I think we all need to be honest with ourselves here, right? Like, next year's the go for broke year for everyone. Right. And in Jedd Fisch's career, next year is go for broke. If he gets 10 wins, we all love Arizona football. He's not here for long if he gets 10 wins next season. Let's just be real. Right. And so in Jedd's mind, that's one of the reasons why he probably is anxious. Like he has told everyone around him, I'm not even talking to you about this hire. This is my hire. And the reason is because if he gets this wrong, his career trajectory changes. Right. And you look at Florida football, that's the dream job. The NFL is the other dream job. Florida's going to open up. Right. But all of a sudden, because that schedule is just ridiculous, all of a sudden, if Jedd Fisch wins 6 games, 7 games because he makes the wrong hire, right? He's not as attractive for Florida anymore. And
right.
and look, I'm not, I don't want to cause an uproar or whatever, but you bring in a young guy and that's part of your sell too. Be like, look, if you do a good enough job this year with Duane Akina, you're going to be a head coaching candidate.
Right.
Like that, or you're going to be a candidate for a promotion, whatever it may be. So it's a whole, and that's just where Arizona football is. And I almost wonder if that's part of the reason why Nansen left, is because he knows that at the end of the day, if Jedd leaves, in his mind, he's not going to be here much longer either. So it's something where for everyone in the program, next year's the go for broke year. It just
let me ask you this. What if they're competing for a national championship next year, Jason Scheer? You and I have very different opinions on next year's upside. Maybe if you can show that you can compete for a championship, maybe you stay.
Maybe you do. Maybe. But, look, I am a firm believer in everything. This isn't even a Jedd Fisch thing.
Firm believer in everything. That's good to know.
Yes, that every coach should leave their school after a certain amount of years. Because what happens is it goes up and then it goes down. It just does. And when it goes down, your fan base, your AD, they don't care about the time when it went up. There are very few coaches that could stay at their school for a long time and win consistently. And those are considered the best coaches ever.
All right. Fair enough. So Lute Olson would certainly agree with you then.
Yeah, he stayed, and he's one of those few that, but he also left eye. But if you look like Saban, like those guys are good, but then you look at other guys that leave their spots and they're fired, 3 years later?
Right. All right. Fair enough. All right. Now let's talk about something else where you're wrong on something. You were wrong. All right. First of all, 2 things. Scheer, from now on, you'll never doubt me. I told you that Johnny Nansen was out the door 10 days ago, and you went to somebody else, and they said you're wrong, Mike. I was right.
You were right, but to be fair, I don't want to get into it on this. I was.
You were hoodwinked.
Right.
All right. You were hoodwinked, and from now on, you will listen to me, because the same person that told me about the Big 12 was also the same person that told me about that Nansen was out the door.
Yes, but
all right.
Apologies are needed.
What's that?
Apologies are needed.
All right. Now, you've been pushing Chris Partridge. You've been pushing this with all the fiber in the sheer soul. This one is not. I don't believe this one is going to happen just merely because He was fired at Michigan just now. Now you could say that maybe it wasn't because of NCAA reasons, this, that, or the other. Arizona just got out of a dark cloud from the Sean Miller era. You know what they're not looking to do is bring something like that back in here.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. You know, he wasn't fired for breaking an NCAA rule. He was fired by Michigan for discussing the investigation with others. He never the earlier reports were wrong, which is why he came out. If you look, he came out with a letter in December that was basically like, I never destroyed evidence. Michigan will actually back me up on that. He is a very good coordinator with connections to Jed. I think it's a home run. From what I understand, he's going to have multiple other offers. But yeah, I mean, look, if Dave Hickey goes to Jed and be like, Jed, we got to stay away from this one. I know he's good, but we just can't mess with it. Then yeah, I mean, and that's a viable thing to believe. It wouldn't shock me at all.
All right. Now with the now we also need to tell something here. Oh yeah, Joe Salavea. Many people asking about Joe Salavea. All right, I like Joe Salavea. He was one of my favorite players when he was here. He got hurt every single game, but either way, Joe Salavea is not an option as a defensive coordinator or really calling plays because Joe Salavea, I think, has kind of petered out at a certain level. Is that fair to say, Jay? Can we agree on this, Jason Shear?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was attacked because I said, look, I love Joe. Joe was one of my go-to guys when he was here on the staff. He was one of the first coaches I met. Great dude. I'm trying to find the way to put it. There are a lot of guys on this football staff that could sit down and remember plays and remember games from years ago and really dive into the X's and O's more than you would probably ever want, right? Mm-hmm. Joe wouldn't be that type of guy. Joe is a football Joe's like Chuck a little bit.
All right,
like
fair enough.
Like a motivator. I'm not going to dive in the X and O's. My guys will play for me. They're going to play tough. We're going to be a tough dude. But if you want me to draw up this, and this, it's just probably not my strength.
Yep. All right. Now, let's talk about, we'll get back to this a little bit, but first, let's see here. What do we want to get out of the way first? How about the BetMGM Sportsbook app, my friends? Sheer, have you bet anything on the BetMGM Sportsbook app?
I'm thinking of betting tonight's game, but I don't know.
I'm back in Washington. I'm back in Oregon's big brother, Washington. Sign up for BetMGM. Use bonus code PHNX. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through BetMGM Sportsbook mobile app of at least $10. If that bet loses, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Check out the show notes for details. We both like Washington on the BetMGM app. Jason Shearer?
It is a little concerning, though, that the spread is moving in Michigan's direction.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going with, I'm back in Washington. I'm back in this. You also don't believe that Arizona can compete for a championship because you saw Washington and how they played against Texas, but it's almost like you forgot that you saw that Washington play against Arizona, Jason Shearer.
I think a lot of things. I said that I need to see who Arizona adds in the portal before I say they're a championship team. Right now, as it stands, they're not good enough to win the national title.
All right, fair enough. All right, now let's talk Jacob Kongaika. All right, I got to put this down. Sure, we got to make this prompt though. Jacob Kongaika. Jacob Kongaika is an interesting story because he came here as a walk-on. Arizona gave him a scholarship, and unlike what you're trying to put out there, Jacob Kongaika is actually good. This is a little bit of a loss for Arizona.
A little bit. I mean, look, but the reality is, if there's probably bigger problems for Arizona if they can't replace his production. Is that fair to say?
Best pass rushing interior defensive lineman. You left that out on your tweet.
I mean, he's really not.
I mean, the stats.
He had the most fumble recoveries. He had half of sack more than Savea, who had triple the tackles for loss that Jacob Kongaika had.
I'm just saying Arizona needs depth along the line. It's not the end of the world. You can replace Jacob Kongaika.
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying.
Right. But it is kind of a weird situation entirely. But Arizona does need to replace him, though.
Yeah, absolutely. They need to replace him. But and I would hope they can, right? You would hope they could replace a guy like Kongaika. I think Kongaika's a solid player. I'm curious to see how much he plays at ASU. Is it the end of the world or like some horrible thing that they lost him? No, they should be able to replace him.
All right. Do you want to talk about what happened behind the scenes?
Sure. I don't care.
He doesn't like Johnny Nansen, correct?
Yeah. He doesn't like Nansen. He didn't think Nansen treated him the way he should be treated. And he left. And people are like, oh, why is T-Mac and this player wishing Kangaika well. First of all, Kangaika is a nice kid. Second of all, these Polynesians love each other. That's it. Like, they're gonna, like, it doesn't matter. They're gonna wish him the best of luck. Why not? His mom is a sweetheart. I don't even know if she realizes
she does
the gravity of what her son just did, but whatever.
You know what's crazy about the Kangaika thing is that her mom, until yesterday afternoon, last I checked, it was about 1 p.m. She still had the back the A emblem on there as she's retweeting all the ASU stuff.
I made fun of him because he has that video where he was like forks down, whatever, and I was like, I love college football. She liked it. Like, she's like, she doesn't. I don't think she fully understands the gravity, but it's whatever. I mean, at the end of it, and like, look, they're going to replace him. Like, I'll give a name. I don't know if anything's changed with Nansen, but last I heard, they were on Jackson Moy from Stanford. If they go and they get Jackson Moy, is he any different than Jacob Kangaika? Probably not.
Jackson Moy, is he related to Wendell Moy?
No, different spelling.
That is really funny. Everybody in this entire media didn't know how to, until we heard it on an announcement, and then we looked in the chart and they're like, "Oh crap, we're right, we're wrong."
I like how no one corrected us whatsoever.
All right, we got to talk a little bit about, nobody corrected us, but you know what? We blame Jeff Bowe for that. Now, when it comes to Northwestern, let's talk a little bit about the Arizona offensive line, because obviously there's a lot of questions about that with, with the way it performed against Oklahoma. First of all, no more Joe Borjon. We agree on this.
I like how you say that. So mean, but yes.
Yeah, okay. As you're dissing me, no more Joe Borjon. Again, sure, he's a great person, great, all kinds of good stuff. There's nothing wrong with having there's nothing wrong with, how do I put this?
Depth.
Yes. Fair enough. There's nothing wrong with depth. Yes. But all right. So you get the transfer in from Northwestern. This is an interesting one for me because he's going to start at left tackle by all accounts. Coaching staff loves him. Huge fans. My question is this, and again, I trust the coaching staff, but my question is this: why he was a low 3-star recruit by your guys' own rankings, and he didn't play at Northwestern? This isn't like, at least on paper, this isn't like you're bringing in somebody and you're like, oh, he's going to be here for 2 years and off to the NFL. What are we all missing, Sheer?
Well, first off, saw him at the basketball game.
He's huge.
And he's a monster. Much bigger than I thought he'd be. He was the top tackle on Arizona's board coming out of high school, right? Like, they liked him that much. He goes to Northwestern because he wanted to impress his mom, basically. His mom winds up passing away, medical condition. Look, from what I understand, that has some mental, impact on a kid, obviously. It got to him at Northwestern, and maybe it was all mental. Maybe some of it is he wasn't good enough. I don't know. But like, as soon as he was able to, like, his mom has family in Tucson. He's much more comfortable here. And the belief is he's around family. He's got I don't want to say the situation behind him, but he's able to get through it easier. And now that he's able to focus, he's going to kind of take a step forward. Also, how many teams besides Arizona play freshman offensive linemen?
I get it. And listen, with this staff, you know it. I totally trust their evals because their evals are absolutely fantastic. I'm just saying that it's a little bit, it makes me a little bit uneasy. That's all, especially too, Northwestern wasn't exactly the greatest team in the world. And left tackle is an incredibly important position on the offensive line. That's where it makes me a little uncomfortable there, Skier.
I trust the coaching staff. You clearly don't.
Do you back the A?
Obviously, you don't. There's a lot of questions for you.
All right, there are a lot of questions. We're going to make fun of Mick Cronin in a little bit, by the way, which is going to be absolutely, if you did not read that, I almost said Dave Plaschke, that Bill Plaschke article about Mick Cronin, very, very funny. All right, now, looking ahead a little bit, our good friend Tony Gimino put out that he expects Arizona to be the favorite in the Big 12 next year. I agree with him. I think Arizona goes in there being the favorite. I know that on the betting odds, Utah's considered better, Kansas State. I still believe that the bettors and Vegas are behind the curve on Arizona, Skier.
Yeah, I think Arizona's probably the favorite, but yeah, it's Utah, Kansas State, Oklahoma State will probably be up there now that their quarterback got a 14th year. It's yeah, I would put Arizona. I think it's going to be more difficult than people think. I think there's a lot of people that have taken this season and assume that Arizona is going to walk into the Big 12 and beat the crap out of everyone. With Utah, I like to see if Cam Rising can even play football at this point. That's the big thing. They've lost a lot of guys to the portal. Kansas State should be good, but they lost Will Howard. There's questions that Arizona doesn't have that these other schools have.
For sure. Now, Mr. Tyler Warden, that's very much like a knight. Is the plan to keep someone who runs primarily a 4-2-5, or we would target a DC? It would be to keep that because, again, you look at Arizona, the strength of their defense is their defensive backs. You've got a lot of defensive backs that can play. You want as many defensive backs out on the field as possible there, Skier.
If it would be a horrible mistake if Jed Fish hired someone that has to revamp the entire defense. You can probably get away with the 3-3-5, even though I'm not even a fan of that because you don't have that many linebackers that are good enough on the roster to do that. To come in and change the defense would be a mistake. I think one of the biggest things and one of the biggest obstacles besides talent was Don Brown and Johnny Nansen ran a completely different system. And we saw in the first year how that didn't really work out all that great. So, again, if you're going for broke this season, I think one of the last things you want to do is come in and change the scheme completely and have the guys learn another one.
All right. Now, going for broke, that would almost imply keeping Duane Akina around as the defensive coordinator.
I would keep Duane Akina around, make him we've already discussed this. Keep Duane Akina. You want to have him call plays, that's fine. Make him the passing game coordinator. Both teams in the title game tonight have that. You bring in a young recruiter type, make him the run game coordinator, and you're good.
All right. Now, have you thought about, let me ask you this. Do you think that Duane Akina has thought about using game time at some point during his career?
I think that's all he thinks about, probably.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. Okay, game time. Check it out. Here's the deal. You can get concert tickets. You can get sporting event tickets. My guy, Frank Caliendo, is coming down to town on the 20th. I will be backstage because let's be honest here, Frank, people are coming to see me at Desert Diamond, or not Frank Caliendo. Hey, Tony Jones, the great Tony Jones. Anyways, check it out. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Okay, now, what were we just talking about, Sheer? Let's see here. Oh, yeah, Belichick. The Belichick rumors. All right. Now, there's a massive troll on Twitter that was very fun to make fun of. We're not serious about Belichick as the defensive coordinator, although we would certainly take him. But it is funny that one person took that bait, Jason Shear. It made me laugh quite a bit.
Yeah, like, what are we doing here? He's not going to be defensive coordinator at Arizona. It was very clearly a joke. And there's people that are running with it. So,
yeah,
good luck to them.
If you believe that, then you've got bigger issues in life.
And I think there's other people that are reporting that he would basically be like an analyst if he did it this year. Like, no, he's not.
Yeah, but yeah, no, very, very, very good. This makes me laugh a great deal. Okay, it was asked by who asked about the offensive line? The offensive line. All right, so you're gonna have Deuced at left tackle. You're gonna have Polito at right tackle. You're gonna have Big Jonah back in at guard. Wendell Moy and Josh Baker. That's your offensive line. Boom.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. And but I would like to see Leif in somewhere. We need to find a way to get Leif action. How do we do
it? I'm on it.
How do we get it?
I don't know. He could be like the versatile play everywhere type of guy.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way when it comes to that. I want Leif on the offense. I want Leif somewhere out there because Leif deserves it. All right, now. Where do you want to go? Let's see here. Where do you want to go? All right, real quick tonight, we're going to talk about Washington and Washington and Michigan. We're all rooting for Washington. This is correct, Sheer.
Well, yeah. Who is it?
Right. Okay. I just wanted to.
By the way, I see the question from Brad Rich. Brewski's not an analyst. He does nothing.
Yeah. No, like the people that think that actually that Bill Belichick's going to come here and hang out with me and Sheer in the press box as an analyst.
Brewski does nothing. He doesn't look at game film or anything. Brewski he shouts out Arizona on TV, basically.
He doesn't do anything, correct? And that, you know what, they're more than okay with that. Now, I could see Belichick coming to like a practice.
Yeah.
But the people that think he's going to be here is some kind of analyst. That would you imagine Bill Belichick talk about being considered at one point the greatest football coach of all time, and now you're hanging out in Arizona working with Tia Savea on the D line. That'd be awesome.
When Bill Belichick is done with football, I assume he'll be a guy that we never hear from again. Like he's just going to go somewhere.
You got to admit, I was right on Belichick being a product of Brady.
Yeah. I'm curious what he does. That I guess he said today that he's willing to give up the GM duties in order to stay. So, Jed Fish, GM of the Patriots. Jed Fish, GM of the Patriots.
Jed Fish, OC, going to save Bill Belichick's. Okay, now, Mr. Tyler Warden, great question. This is true. We need to talk a little bit about the depth on the O-line because the depth on the O-line is intriguing. Rhino can play. As Elijah Payne and Tylen Gonzalez, along, like we said, with our guy Leif, these are all three or four pretty enticing options going forward. We are not out on Rhino at all, Mr. Tyler Warden.
No, I don't think he's ready to start and play every snap, but he's a nice depth piece right now, and they like him. He'll improve. But, I mean, he's just not going to play over any of those guys on the current roster.
But it's also called depth. It's what Arizona needs to continue to do. You keep building a depth, Jason. Sure. Also, let's talk to Mon Williams. I like Braden Dorman a great deal. Listen, good kid, strong, good quarterback. It feels to me like Damon Williams is going to be that backup quarterback sooner than later. He fits the profile. He can move around. He looked absolutely fantastic in the that All-Star game, whatever it was called. Damon's the goods. And what's interesting about this is Damon redshirts for, say, a year. You got Noah. Damon could have multiple years here at Arizona after Noah moves on. Damon can play. I think Damon's going to be the backup at some point.
Oh, I think he's the backup right away.
Yeah.
I really do. I think he wins that number 2 job very quickly in the spring. That All-American game performance was awesome. Probably should have been MVP. Again, this is another case of Jed taking a guy. I think he measured in at 5'8" officially. This is another case of Jed taking a 5'8", 5'9" quarterback who is awesome. And if he was 6'2", he would have gone wherever he wanted. And Arizona takes him, and he's going to have a great college career.
Yeah, and keep in mind, he was committed to Ole Miss. So, again, I know everybody wants to make Ole Miss out and shout out to James Phillips' brother, Jason, for not giving me the third team in the SEC that Arizona is that is clearly better than Arizona, but I think he wanted to say Ole Miss. Henry Vasar has time to coach the linebackers. That was very, very funny. See, all right, let's talk Dorman for a second. Now, what you're about to see with some folks are going to start pushing Dorman as essentially Peyton Manning. And Dorman's not a bad player. He's kind of caught in a numbers game. Listen, Noah Fafita is not coming off the field. Another win for Mike Luke. Noah Fafita is not coming off the field. And let's just be honest, Damon's more explosive, more dynamic. It's just kind of the way it is, Skier.
Yeah, people assume that like there's a question on the side like, oh, we only talk about Jed leaving. Why not staying? Like, just because we're talking about other things, like Dorman's good. I think Dorman's a fine quarterback, but you got to look at the QB room and say, okay, well, when is this guy playing? Like, when is he going to play? He's not playing over Noah. We believe that Damon Williams will be better, and so Dorman's the odd guy out. That's just the way it works.
Yeah, and again, hey, y'all want Jed to leave? No, we want Jed to be here for the entirety of his career. I don't know, Bear Down Cats 96, you're the great, but I disagree with you on this.
Yeah, it's realism. Like, it's what we're gonna talk about. That's just.
But I also part companies with Sheer a little bit, in that I don't think that it's a foregone conclusion. That's all I'm saying right there. That's all I'm saying. All right, now. Let's see here. All right, let's get to a little bit of U of A. Let's get to a little bit of U of A basketball. But first, the Gila River Resorts and Casinos, my friends. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Sheer, I forgot what you said. Have you stayed there before?
I have not. I've been there though.
All right. Now, did you make some money? Were you kissing babies, pressing the flesh?
Thousands, millions, hundreds.
All right, that's what we like to hear. You do you at the Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit play@gila.com for more details. Like I said, all kinds of good stuff. Gambling, all kinds of cool stuff. And it's an immersive experience, unprecedented level of entertainment excitements you won't find anywhere. You will thank me later. Okay, now, Arizona. Oh, pen just broke. Look at this. It's not good. I'm gonna move. My ankle's infected. My pens are breaking. Like I'm just a mess right now. All right. Let's talk Arizona basketball. Got back on track against Utah. My question is this with certain players. Why can't there just be a consistent effort like this all the time? I think that's where especially in that second half where you got Pella going, you got Kylan going, Keyshot going. Why can't this just be kind of a game in and game out thing? Again, you're going to drop games. Totally get it. But I don't understand why the effort can't always.
Yeah, I mean, the effort's the biggest thing. Like, shots aren't going to go in. There's going to be some days, but just give me the effort. Like, you could tell at the beginning of the Colorado game and even the Utah game, but mostly at the beginning of the Colorado game, that Arizona basically came in there and said, we're going to beat the crap out of you.
Right.
We're going to play harder than you. We're going to get to every loose ball. If you play like that every game, you're probably not losing another one the rest of the year. But I think we forget sometimes that it's like 8. I just held that question.
I like that. That's a good one.
I think, we forget sometimes that a lot of these, again, I know this is shocking. Kylan Balls was 18 years old.
But let me ask you this. Pella's 23.
Yeah, that's right. Pella is no excuse for that. None.
All right. Okay. You agree. Hey, by the way, can you look up, remember the one-arm basketball player? He came up on my feed the other day. Is he doing anything?
What's
his name again?
Emmanuel
Hansel?
Yeah, Hansel Emmanuel.
Look him up. Is he doing anything?
He's on Austin P. And he is averaging 2 points a game.
Is he playing, though?
He plays 17 minutes.
Wow.
He averages 2 points, 4 rebounds. I don't know how he rebounds.
Getting the rebounds is actually really impressive.
Yeah, I don't know.
Dude, 4 rebounds.
Yeah. Do you think the person that asked us about Mikey Williams knows about Mikey Williams?
I'm going to say yes. Joseph, do you know about Mikey Williams' background? What are you going to say? Before he answers, what are you going to say? Does he know or not?
No, I don't think he does. Unless it's a joke. It's hard to tell jokes.
Odds Tommy goes out. That would be fantastic. Mikey Williams is, nothing like a hey, this is really good.
Okay. All right, good. Okay.
Joseph, you are the best. Nothing like a
all right, I was just making sure. And I can tell you one thing, Joseph, you're kidding, but there's absolutely someone that will ask that question in the next 48 hours.
Do you think we could get Bruce to start asking Tommy about possibly
What do you think? That's the one thing Tommy hasn't done too that most coaches do. Tommy hasn't taken that questionable character guy. Sean loved those guys. Sean took them all the time.
All right. Speaking of low character guys, let's talk Mick Cronin for a minute. When is this turd going to be out at UCLA? This thing gets worse and worse every single time he speaks. At what point are we like, all right, this is embarrassing. He throws all of his players under the bus whenever now that he's not even going to press conferences. This guy sucks.
So I thought the biggest concern with losing to Cal would be that your players quit, right?
Yeah.
Like eventually, like if I go out and I tell my kid that they're stupid over and over again, eventually they're not going to want to do the thing that I say they're stupid at.
Right.
Like that's just like these guys are going to quit on him. They're 100%.
You posted this question, and this was actually a very, very, it was a surprisingly good question from you. You said, why would anybody want to go play for this guy?
They're going to Utah on Thursday. They're probably going to lose that game at Utah. Then they come back here. Then they play the Arizona schools. Like, this thing could get ugly for them. And then what is he going to do? Like, I've never seen a coach that blames their players. Like Tom Izzo last night went on a rant. It was stupid. He said how analytics are dumb and he can look in a player's eyes, and that'll tell him more than any computer. It was a dumb rant. But then he goes, I'm to blame. Never blame my players. Whenever you write these articles, you blame me. Do not blame my players, ever. And Cronin's like, do not blame me. Only blame my players. Yeah, it's wild.
You know the one that really caught my attention about Mick Cronin was when who's the kid, the top 50 kid from New York that's actually pretty good. Freshman. Why am I
on that team?
Yeah, why am I drawing a blank? No, he sucks. Talking about the guy that's actually good. Why am I drawing a blank on him? He's got an interesting Sebastian Mack. Mack
from Vegas.
What's that? Oh, I thought he's from New York.
No, Brandon Williams is from New York.
Okay, anyway, doesn't matter. But he's a pretty good player.
Yeah.
Like he's legitimately good.
Not very good on defense, but clearly their best offensive player.
I'll put it to you like this. If Sebastian Mack wanted to come to Arizona, I would 1,000% take him.
Yes, 100%.
100%. So he's good.
Yeah.
And Cronin goes out there literally talking about this freshman that's good, that probably has NBA talent, that could probably play at
best scorer on that roster that is filled with awful scorers. They are an awful offensive team.
Yeah. And Cronin goes out there and says, if I had a veteran team, this bum would be playing 5 minutes a game. Come on, dude.
I love how, like, and the French kid turns the ball over and Mick's like, it's not my fault you turned it over. You turn it over, you don't play. You go cry to mommy. It's like, remember when Mick went the international route, I said that someone who was very familiar with the process said it would fail miserably because Mick doesn't have the patience for international players.
Right.
You have to have patience. And this dude, the French kid, goes in, turns the ball over once, and Mick doesn't play in the rest of the game.
Right. But you know what's also fun to watch about UCLA? And I know we're making fun of UCLA because they deserve to be made fun of. What's also fun to watch about that, there's just not a lot of talent on that team. When you're having to play Will McClendon, your guy Dylan Andrews, I
nailed that team, by the way. I nailed them. I said their backcourt was atrocious and not good enough, and their backcourt is awful. Awful.
The only one that you were right on that I was wrong on was Dylan Andrews. He stinks.
Yeah, you love Dylan Andrews.
Will McClendon sucks. Yeah, he's not good. Mara's interesting, but the problem with Mara is he's at the wrong spot.
Yeah, did you see that thing I sent you the other day with the UCLA scouting report?
Yeah,
when Mara committed, man,
yeah,
that was good.
No, that was really, really good. Was that a Tracy Pearson write-up?
I believe so.
Yeah, I believe so. I can make fun of Tracy Pearson. You have so now let's talk about the conference a little bit. There's only one team in this conference that Arizona fans need to keep an eye on now as far as possibly winning the conference, and that's Oregon. Oregon's now 4-0. They're supposed to get Dante back in 10 days. By the way, your board only giving me 74 downvotes to this point on the Oregon being the only team to worry about.
We'll get there. Don't worry.
Oregon's the only team, though, because Oregon, when you get Dante and you get Biddle back, they're the only team I think from a talent and from a coaching perspective can look Arizona in the face. Every other team I don't think has the horses.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Oregon is very talented. When Dante comes back, Shellstad is a stud. Oregon's good. That's going to be a really tough game at Oregon for Arizona. And Oregon's got that. Vegas doesn't know anything about them either. Because remember when we saw that Washington State spread and Oregon was the underdog, I was like, what?
And then the Washington one before that as well. It's like, Washington at least get to a certain degree, but the Washington State one, they could have played 10 times and they're not losing to Washington State.
Oregon's got Cal this week at home, and then they go on the mountain trip next week. So if Oregon can split that or sweep that, they're in business.
They're 6-1. They're 6-1, and then you got Dante back because he's supposedly starting to practice. So we'll find out about that. What's a downvote, Tony Clifton? Oh, great question, Tony Clifton. It's something I'm very familiar with. So when you go on the boards and you post something that somebody doesn't like, guess what they do? And so I posted on there. I said that on Shear's board that Oregon was the only team that people needed to worry about. Guess what? I got a lot of downvotes, but not as many as I was expecting. Shear, you got to rally the troops.
Yeah, we'll get there. Don't worry.
All right, now Philly B will be fine as a D coordinator. That's interesting. That is it. That is interesting. All right, now let's talk OGs real quick. Sheer, have you had OGs lately?
All the time.
All right,
Nonstop.
All right, OGs, all kinds of good stuff. Hold on, I gotta get the read. Just a second. Hold on. Oh geez. Literally. Hold on. Don't leave anybody. Okay. To learn more about OG's gummies and where you can find them, head on over to ogsbrands.com. Like we said, our good friend Ben White likes the fruits and the creams. Very, very good. Ben is obsessed with those things, and that is a lifestyle choice for Ben White. Check it out. Again, OG's Naturals are a vegan gummy with live rosin, available in sweet clementine flavor. All right. If it's good enough for Ben White, it's good enough for anybody out there. All right. Now, with Arizona going forward, then only got one game this week. I need blowouts, Jason Cheer. I need blowouts. I don't need close games. Arizona, that Stanford game should have been the wake-up call. That's what I need.
Yeah, Washington State isn't awful, but they're not good enough to Arizona. Arizona should blow them out. I mean, they just should. Washington State's not awful. You know, they beat Oregon State. They played Colorado and Oregon close, but they're also not very good. So Arizona should really beat them up.
All right, Sheer. This is funny, Brad Rich. Oh, Kangaika overdosed on OGs before making a transfer decision. Brad, that was very funny. We need more of these jokes. Whoever fed Philly B Tucson salsa needs to be charged with assault. I promise you his Serbian stomach was not ready for that.
Yeah, you got to see that video. He couldn't handle any spice whatsoever.
Oh, Philly.
Salsa show or whatever. Philly B failed miserably.
All right, you got to send that to me. By the way, AZ Wildcat, this is very true. Oregon plus 900 is a decent hedge. Yes.
Is that to win the conference?
Yeah, I would be very interested in that one.
Jeez.
Yeah. All right, Sheer, before we sign off, where can they find you? Because you're also coming back tomorrow.
WildcatAuthority.com, the Wildcat Scoop podcast with my wife, Shelby, and at Jason Cheer on Twitter.
All right, now you can also no better time to become PHNX diehard, my friends. You can get merchandise, you can get Discord, you can get access to Jacob Franklin, you name it, they've got it. All right, rest of the week, we got Sheer tomorrow, we got Mulebach on Wednesday, then Les Fafita. What has that guy done for the program? Sometime Thursday or Friday, we'll figure that one out as well. But Sheer, I'm sure I'll be talking to you within probably the next, 10 to 15 minutes. What say you?
Most likely, yes.
All right, everybody out there, you're the ones that make the show. We appreciate you as always. We will be back with you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.